What's up, guys? It's Steven here from Powell's Power Ups. I got an overview video for a client of mine, Ben. This is your overview video for your Darth Vader lightsaber. Now, for those of you who are just watching my channel to see projects that I'm working on and things like that, this project is very unique. Ben has a Darth Vader mannequin that he owns. It's a one-to-one life-size replica. It has all the lights in it, has breathings, it's on a big stand, and what he didn't have was a lightsaber to go with it. So Ben needed one that was able to be plugged in and run off of a power source like that. And he also wanted a motion detector to activate it and trigger it and to kick it on and things like that. So Ben, sit down, get comfortable. I'm going to go over your saber with you and everything that it does, and I'll also demonstrate it at the end. All right, so here we go with the overview video. Like I said, this is a unique project. I guess you could say it's unique for me. It's my first time doing a project like this, in that it's a lightsaber that, one, does not have a battery in it. It is powered by a plug-in power source, okay? So it has an AC. So Ben, by the way, this is your overview video. Make sure you pay attention. This is all your instructions on how everything works. So we got a plug-in power adapter, okay? This is a professional power supply. We got an AC/DC adapter. We have a voltage regulator here. So it goes anywhere from 3 to 12 volts. Now, for the CFX, you want it to be right around 4 volts, right at about 4 volts. You don't want to go above 4.2. So never, ever go above 4.2 to keep it safe. Stay at 4 volts. So I just put a little piece of painter's tape on there and wrote 4 volts on there. So please don't forget that. You never want to go above 4.2 volts for this particular setup, okay? Something else unique about this was, we know with the lightsaber blades, we need a lot of amps to power those blades. You got a KR Sabers pixel stick in here, which is the top-notch, highest quality pixel sticks we can get for lightsaber blades. The highest amperage I could find AC/DC adapter was 10 amps, which is sufficient for what we're doing here. 15 amps would have been best, but I just couldn't find a 15 amp one, so I got a 10 amp. All that means is that when your lightsaber blade goes to like all white, the all white won't be quite as bright. It'll almost have like a dimmed down look to it, but that's not going to happen very often because you have a red blade for Vader. All of your other colors still show up fine, and most of your clashes and blasters and lockups and things like that are only white in a section of the blade. It's never really the whole blade turning white. But anyway, so 10 amps is sufficient, right? And we can power the lightsaber that way. So I got it already set on 4 volts. It doesn't click or anything like that. It's just kind of an adjustable knob. But what I did was, when you plug this in, okay, we'll get our power here. But just as a safety feature, so we got our cord here, we run around. We got a kill switch, right? So you got a kill switch here, a little 3D printed little box with a kill switch in it. So once you get your voltage, and that's been checked and it's good, then you can kick on the kill switch, which will give power to your lightsaber, okay? So I guess we can go ahead and, well, I'll move on here in a second to that. But the next, so by the way, in the power, as you can see, just runs into the hilt. By the way, this is your Vader hilt, right? You said it didn't need to be super screen accurate. You just wanted it to basically resemble, a Darth Vader lightsaber. So we got the metal shroud here on the top with the thumb screw and the D-ring. We got a little black clamp here with the clamp card in it. Okay, silver hilt. And then we got the grips down at the bottom and a pommel here at the end. And then I have a hole here with our wires going in. The chassis here, it's kind of halfway removable. I'll show you here in a little bit how it comes out, just so that if something goes wrong, I can do maintenance on it and things like that. But I would prefer that you do not try to take it apart or anything like that. But anyway, so we got the power cord going in there. This is all like silicone wire inside of here, 20 gauge for our power. And I wanted it to be flexible, is why I used silicone. And then I covered it in this cable cover, right? So that's all over the place just to kind of help, add with the quality of the look of it. The other cord coming out of here goes to your motion detector, right? So that comes out. You got your motion detector here, which is like a little 3D printed box. It looks like a little camera, basically. It's got the little circle around it to kind of help direct its field, or I guess you could say concentrate its field of view, because it has a very wide field of view and I wanted to concentrate it a little bit. But you can basically take like some double-sided sticky tape or Velcro or whatever you want, stick that on the bottom. You can mount it wherever you want. You got about 6 foot of wire there for both your power and your motion detector, right? And also, I know you're not going to want to use the motion detector all the time, right? So it can get a little annoying. Maybe you want to turn it off. It also has a kill switch in this line, so you can turn your motion detector on and off, okay? Now, that's not the only way it operates. It also has a Bluetooth switch on the a Bluetooth chip on the inside. It has the breakout board from Stock Custom Works with the little LEDs on it, so it lights up and all that. But basically, it's the FSC BT909 Bluetooth chip, and with the Force Sync app, which I'll actually show in this video. I got my girlfriend's phone, right? So I'm gonna actually show you how to operate it with the Bluetooth, right? So let's say you get tired of this, you can turn this off, and then you can just remote control the lightsaber and have all the operations from your phone, right? So you have dual operation there, okay? So now, I guess we'll move into the, before I go into powering it up, I want to show you how the blade comes in and out. The blade is removable. So let me mount this phone and I'll show you how that works. All right, so basically what you'll do is, and by the way, whenever you're handling these wires, right, they feed in and out of the saber very easily. I wanted them to be able to feed in and out so I could take that chassis in and out, right? So there's a little 3D printed port right here. But I want you to be careful. I want you to be careful with all of your wires. I never want you to yank them. Obviously, if you yank them, you could possibly tear or damage something. So always keep that in mind when you're handling this, and while you're setting it up, be very gentle with it, okay? All right, so we'll move on now to blade, right? So for your blade to come in and out, you have a thumb screw here. That thumb screw holds the shroud on. So you just loosen the thumb screw and the shroud comes off. Take it off over the top of your blade. Now this is a very nice high quality shroud. It's metal, okay? And then that reveals right here is a set screw or a blade retention screw. So you'll be given an Allen wrench so you can get that out. But basically you just loosen up that retention screw, okay? And then you can take your blade out. So this is a NeoPixel blade like I talked about. It has the, I don't know if I can get it out. I haven't glued it in yet, but we have the KR Saber's Pixel Stick in here. Okay, this is the highest quality. You said you wanted it to be real bright. This is the highest quality NeoPixel you can get for lightsaber blades. Super nice. This is 32-inch long polycarbonate NeoPixel blade. Inside of there, you have a custom Saber Shop blade connector. So these little spring-loaded pins. And this pad on the end of the blade pushes against those spring-loaded pins, okay? Whenever you insert that, you want to make sure you never ever twist. You don't want to accidentally bend the pins over. They're spring-loaded. All you do is apply pressure against those. So slide the blade in all the way in. Apply pressure against those pins. While you're holding that blade in, tighten down your blade retention screw until it tightens up and pushes against the blade. Okay, so that will hold the blade in. Then you simply put your shroud back on over the top. Kind of line up the back of it here, right here with your little clamp card. Go down all the way, and then you just tighten down this thumb screw here to hold the shroud in place. There's a 3D printed sleeve underneath the shroud, as you saw there, that kind of thickens up so that this would fit. This is a version 2. This is, by the way, this hilt is just a 1-inch inner diameter, 1.3-inch outer diameter hilt from the custom Saber Shop. I got all the custom pieces to fit it and make it on, make it just right. So that's how you take the blade in and out. Like I said, no twisting with the blade when you insert it. You don't want to bend the pins. Now I'm gonna move the camera again. I'm gonna show you the inside of it. So I'm gonna take off the pummel now. There, you can see inside of here, or maybe you can't. Let me see. Inside, there you go. You can see it. You got a 24 millimeter speaker in there. It's a 4 ohm 2-watt speaker, right? It's decent sounding for, you know, a lightsaber. I'd say it's mid level, right? But I have an upgrade for you. So it's not super loud. I know you said you wanted it to have a lot of wow factor, right? So check this out. When we remove our pummel, right, we just loosen this. You'll see that the speaker is actually in a removable modular pod. See that? It just sits down inside of the little pummel there. 24 millimeter speaker, black. We got little pin. Again, these are little pin connectors. You don't want to bend those, so take care of those. But if you want to upgrade your sound for it to be louder, you have another connector. Here's your little pins, okay? And this side has a 3.5 millimeter jack. So you can plug this into like an extension cord here. I'm actually going to include this one before you can plug it in, and then plug this into basically any speaker or stereo sound system that has an audio in 3.5 millimeter jack. You can even get little Bluetooth adapters or Bluetooth frequency transmitters or whatever, and plug that into here if you wanted it to be wireless. But I personally have had a speaker system with a subwoofer, and whenever that I could plug this into, but whenever you plug this in to a speaker system, it really turns up the wow factor. But basically, you just take your little pod here, you just put it through there, fit it down inside, and this sticks out the bottom. Okay, and then you would screw your pummel back on, which, by the way, it doesn't go all the way on. You don't want to screw too far. You just want to get it tight. There's a little rubber O-ring in there. But here is how you can hook up and have an external sound source to really increase the volume and the wow factor, and it really helps if you do it with something that has a subwoofer in it. Just like I talked about with these wires, with this one right here, again, be careful. It's got some E6000 adhesive in there to help hold it in place and give it some strength, but you don't want to go yanking on it and things like that. But for this demonstration, I'm going to put the little speaker pod back in. And before I do, I'm actually going to take the chassis out just ever so slightly, show you the inside. There's the little pad that the speaker connects into. Now, if I feed this wire in here a little bit, you can see the chassis starts to come out a little bit there. And your crystal focus X and all that stuff is down inside there. See if I can get it to come out on camera. Yeah, I might not have enough slack, but you can see down inside there is the crystal focus X. And the Bluetooth chip is down in there as well. It's just a really basic chassis. Nothing super fancy, but I didn't want it to come out super far, so I didn't give it a whole lot of slack. But if anything goes wrong with it, it's that way, it's accessible so that I can do maintenance on it. You know, if something ever happens to it, all my clients, I give like a 1-year warranty, just so that just so they feel confident. But again, I want you to take care of your saber, you know, don't be yanking on no wires or nothing like that. But anyway, take this out. I'm going to put this little speaker pod back in. Speaker faces down. Make sure you don't ever poke that speaker with your finger. That can damage it. Put this speaker back in. All right, so now I'm going to do a demo for you. So this is and by the way, I did the wires on the bottom up there. I figured when you put this saber in his hand, you'll probably have his hand up here, choke up on a little bit. It might be facing down like that, by the way. I figured the wires can go through his fingers. You know, seems to work really well like that. And then maybe you could wrap them around his arm and, you know, work them up. You got like 6 to 7 foot, maybe even 8 foot worth of wire here. So, you know, I wanted it to be really flexible for you. There's also buttons on here. You actually have tactile switches, but with the current setup, because of your motion detector, the auxiliary button is the only way The auxiliary button is the only one that does stuff. It does like your lockups and blasters and all that. But your main activation button doesn't necessarily work because this is a momentary switch. And the way that the IR sensor works, it has to be set up as a latching for when it detects motion and when it doesn't. So this one works, this one doesn't. But you won't even really need these. These are just there again for kind of like maintenance reasons, I guess, because you can use your Bluetooth to really do all the operation that you want. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and plug it up. Now I'm going to video myself doing all this too. So I'm going to take this. And by the way, so I learned this when I was testing, okay? Don't plug this into a power strip. Okay, I've noticed when you plug into certain power strips, you don't get the full amount of amps, right? You don't get all that you need. I was testing it earlier and it was cutting out on me, and I figured because it was into a power strip. So when you plug it in, plug it into a wall socket, okay? So I'm gonna unplug this one. I'm gonna plug into the wall socket here, okay? So when you first plug in, you'll get a readout as a digital display. Says your volts, right? We can keep it there at 4.15. Seems to be good. So now that we know that that's set, now we can follow the cord to our power switch, right? And we can kick it on.
No, I am your father.
Now, whenever it kicks on, you get a boot sound, right? So that's how you know the Saber has power. So let me move this out of the way. Now your sensor, I'll go over the sensor first, okay? So I'm just gonna kind of set this up here. So this is the room, right? I just have it facing kind of that field of view over there, right? It might kick on whenever I kick this switch on the first time, it kind of does, but it'll go off. So I'm gonna flip the switch to turn the sensor on.
Join me. Together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
So it's already, see, it already kicked off. It has a pre-on, by the way. Some of your fonts I'll go over later, especially on the paperwork that I'm gonna print out and give to you. The paperwork will say what the fonts are and what all they entail, but I'm gonna go over with you too. But right now it's not sensing anything, right? If I walk over in front of that sensor, it just sensed me. It played the pre-on, and then it's gonna kick on. Right, so there's our NeoPixel blade. And it'll stay on as long as you're standing here in front of the sensor and it's sensing some type of movement, right? It's gonna stay on. But once you move out of its field of view and it doesn't sense movement anymore, it will kick off, okay? Pretty cool, right?
Join me. Together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
See, it kicked off because I was standing here, but I wasn't moving. So this is definitely one for motion detection. So if I stand here and be real still, it won't sense me. See? But if I move, it'll detect me.
Together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
Right? See, again, it kicked off because I moved out of the field of view. But again, if I move back in, kicked back on. If I'm standing here and people are, in your living room and they're mingling and they're hanging out and they're talking and they're moving all around like I'm doing now, which might be annoying if you're watching this, you keep moving and it'll stay on, okay? And then, like I said, the auxiliary does stuff too.
Join me. Together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
I need to change that blade style. I used too much white. If you use too much white, it has a safety on it. It tries to draw too many amps and it cuts off. But that particular blade style I'm going to change, which, by the way, we'll move into the next phase, right? So I'm done with the sensor. I don't want to use the sensor anymore. I'm going to go to the kill switch and switch it off, okay? Now here's where the next part comes in, right? Total control. We're going to go here into, let me log into this. We're going to go here into, let me show you what this app looks like. It's called the Crystal FX, Crystal Focus. Look at me and my dog. So this is the font, right? The Bluetooth. So you're going to hit scan, right? and you're going to pick maybe it's accidentally already hooked to my phone. Let me kick it off and kick it back on.
What is thy bidding, my master?
Let's try again. There it is. FSC BT909LE. Okay, that's what you'll select. You want to connect to it. It's going to ask you to pair it, right? When you pair it, your code is 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to pair. Okay, now you are connected. Once it fully connects, it'll give you like a battery meter up here and everything. Anyway, you're going to go to remote control, right? You can change fonts, right? You can click power on, right? So we got a crazy blade style there, right? An unstable blade style. So see here, you can go to blades, previous blade. You can go back to a flicker blade. You'll have a list on your printout of all the different kinds of blade styles that it has. You can also change color. So you can tap next color and go through the whole color wheel, right? Go back to red, we can power it down. Okay, you can change fonts here. By the way, let's look at fonts. Oh, I want to show you the other stuff too, hold on. So you got clashing, swing sounds, slashing, force sound. So every time you play a force sound, you'll get a quote from that movie, whatever font it is.
This will be a day long remembered. It has seen the end of Kenobi. It will soon see the end of the rebellion. I have placed the rebel spies to her. Now she is my only link to finding their secret base. The plans you referred to will soon be back in our hands.
You also have stabbing, spin sounds, blasters. You have a lockup. It's a little button there you can toggle. So you can toggle the lockup. You have tip drag. So the tip down there is lighting up. It's another toggle button. Okay. You can power it down. We'll go back to the main menu here. We'll go to sound fonts, right? So I gave you Kyberphonic Father version 2. I chose this one because it has the most Darth Vader stuff, right? We have 4 fonts here, one from every movie with Darth Vader and his lightsaber sounds and his quotes and his background tracks from those movies. We have A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and Rogue One. So all you gotta do is tap them, and you can go to the next font. So we can go back. You can go to iSaber Music. Right here we have our background tracks. You can hit sound. You can pick sound font tracks there. You can pick which track you want. Right? You can play it. So you can have it playing that background music. You can pause it. You can resume it. You can stop it. You can make it shuffle random. There's all kinds of settings in here. While it's playing the background tracks, you can also operate the lightsaber.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Right? Let me go stop that background track. So also you notice some of the fonts, like that one right there, I set up preons. So what is a preon, right? A preon is when it's going to play a quote before it ignites the saber. So let's say somebody triggers the motion detector, right? It'll actually play a quote and then kick on, right? So you get Vader talking, before. And then some of the fonts, I just have it where it just kicks on, kind of like Rogue One. So we'll go back to the sound fonts and we'll go to Rogue One. Okay. And this one will just kick on. It won't have a pre-on sound. right? So we got a blue purple blade there. So let's go back to the regular flicker blades. Go back to red. Okay, and I'm just tapping on these buttons left and right, right? We'll power it down. So this one just kicks on, there's no pre-on, right? So you also have other settings in here too if you want. I wouldn't recommend messing with them too much. I really have this fully pre-configured already, so you don't really need to mess with the settings. The only things you're really going to do are like your remote control, sound fonts, the music, and the volume. You can do volume too. I wouldn't recommend going above like maybe like 60 or maybe 70 just because you got a 24mm speaker in here. Save. Main configuration. But if you hook up to a speaker system with this, then you could probably bump it up to 70 or 80. These are your menu volumes too. Yeah, you got some other stuff in here too. Font configuration. So if you wanted to like maybe change the timing of like the blade extending out, right? Which I have kind of slow for Darth Vader. I have set at 800. Let me find that setting. Blade effects. Yeah, so quick on is set at 800, right? So let me show you what I mean. So if we hit power on, that means it takes 800 milliseconds to come out. But if I bump this up to like 2000, let's see, 3000 milliseconds, that will take 3 seconds to power on. Or I guess I gotta save it first, hold on. So if you save, configuration saved. Now if I power it on, it's a lot slower. Now if I do it all the way down to like 117 milliseconds, it'll be a lot quicker. Well, it's not saving. Of course it does that while I'm on camera. But it's best at 800, right where I have it set for Darth Vader anyway. Font configuration saved. Back. So anyway, I think I covered most everything there. I covered the sensor, right? Covered the Bluetooth app, how that works. I talked about taking care of your cords. Now, I will say this saber, right, it's pretty heavy, right? So I don't know if your Vader Mannequin will be able to hold it up like that. I don't know how strong the arm is, but I think it would look best, obviously, down like this. You can also tap the auxiliary and check the power levels, which is kind of not necessary because it's plugged in, but I think that is about it. Anyway, I'm gonna upload this overview video, send it to you. Just watch it. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want to see anything else. But like I said, it's pretty much already pre-configured and set up for you. All you got to do is download the app. All you really got to worry about is using the remote control feature. Like I said, I wouldn't dive too much into settings. It's pretty much already set up for you. The sound fonts, are all listed here. I'm going to give you a printout with more details about what's included in the sound fonts, but it's all there. It has the background tracks and things like that. Showed you how to do colors. I showed you your sensor. Again, your sensor, it detects motion more than anything, right? So if you stand in front of it and you don't move, then it won't detect anymore and it'll turn the saber off. But if people are standing here, moving around and whatnot, it will continue to stay ignited. So let's just demo that again for you one more time. So we're going to go to the switch here. We're going to kick the sensor on. It will always kick on the first time once you do this just because it's turning on. It's a powered sensor. Right, but once we move over here out of the way, give it a second, it'll go back off. So when you move over here in front of the sensor, kicks back on, it'll stay on as long as I keep moving. Right, still moving, still on. But if I stop moving, it'll kick off. Now if I move, it kicks back on. There you go, man. Hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think.